Hi, welcome to Kevin Alone's audiobook reading Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Part 3.10. As the law states, the first 2.5% of the population are the innovators, and the next 13.5% are early adopters. Innovators, Moore says, pursue new products or ideas aggressively and are intrigued by any fundamental advance. Being first is a central part of their lives. As their name suggests, innovators are the small percentage of the population that challenges the rest of us to see and I think of the world a little differently. Early adopters are similar to innovators in that they appreciate the advantages wrought by new ideas or technologies. They are early to recognize the value of new ideas and are quite willing to put up with imperfection because they can see the potential. Although quick to see the potential and willing to take risk to try new technologies or ideas, early adopters are not idea generators like the innovators, but both groups are similar, as Moore says, in that they rely heavily on their intuition. They trust their gut. Early adopters, like innovators, but to a lesser degree, are willing to pay a premium or suffer some level of inconvenience to own a product or espouse an idea that feels right. Those on the left side of the diffusion curve are the ones who stood in line for 6 hours to be among the first to buy the iPhone. Apple's entry into the mobile phone market, even though they could have walked into a store a week later and bought one without waiting. Their willingness to suffer an inconvenience or pay a premium had less to do with how great the product was and more to do with their own sense of who they are. They wanted to be the first. These are also the personality types who bought flat screen TVs when they first came out, even though they cost upwards of $40,000 and the technology was still far from perfect. My friend Nathan fits this profile. I walked around his house once and counted no fewer than 12 Bluetooth earpieces for his mobile phone lying around his house. I asked him why he had so many. Did they all break? I queried. No, he replied. They came out with a new one. There were also about five laptops, various models of BlackBerry smartphones, and boxes of other gadgets lying about that never quite worked that well. Nathan is an early adopter. The next 34% of the population are the early majority, followed by the late majority, and finally the laggards on the far right side of the spectrum. Loggers are the ones who buy touch tone phones only because they don't make rotary phones anymore. The early and late majority are more practical minded. For them, rational factors matter more. The early majority is slightly more comfortable with new or ideas or technologies, while the late majority is not. The farther right you go on the curve, the more you will encounter the clients and customers who may need what you have, but don't necessarily believe what you believe. As clients, they're the ones for whom, no matter how hard you work, is never enough. Everything usually boils down to price with them. They're rarely loyal, they rarely give referrals, and sometimes you may even wonder out loud why you still do business with them. They just don't get it, our gut tells us. The importance of identifying this group is so that you can avoid doing business with them. Why invest good money and energy to go after people who, at the end of the day, will do business with you anyway if you meet their practical requirements, but will never be loyal if you don't? It's not too hard to recognize where people fall on the spectrum. Once you're in a relationship with them, the opportunities to figure out which is which before you decide to work with them. We all sit at different places on this spectrum depending on the product or idea. Most of us are fiercely loyal to certain products, and ideas at various times and demonstrate left side of the curve behavior. And for other products or ideas, we exhibit right of the side of the curve behavior. When we sit on one side of the spectrum, we often have a hard time understanding those on the other side because their behavior doesn't make sense to us. My sister is an early adopter when it comes to fashion trends, whereas I'm firmly in the late majority. It was only recently that I finally caved and bought a pair of overpriced designer blue jeans. I admit they look good, but I still think that they aren't worth the money, and I can't understand why my sister thinks they are. In contrast, I'm an early adopter for some technologies. I bought a Blu ray DVD player before they had perfected the technology. I paid about 4 or 5 times more for it compared to a regular DVD player. My sister can't understand why I waste my money on all that useless stuff, as she puts it, but we will never see eye to eye on this stuff. Each of us assigns different values to different things, and our behaviors follow accordingly. This is one of the major reasons why it is nearly impossible to convince someone of the value of your products or ideas based on rational arguments and tangible benefits. It's the old Ferrari and Honda Odyssey debate again. Designer jean companies on my sister can talk to me until they are blue in the face about the importance of fabric quality, design, and workmanship. It goes in one ear and out the other. Similarly, it can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt the rational benefits of choosing a $500 DVD player over a $100 one. My sister won't hear a word of it. And so the game of manipulation ensues. Again, although always effective, manipulations don't breed loyalty, and they increase cost and stress for all parties involved. Most people or organizations that have something to sell, be it a product, service, or idea, hope to achieve some level of mass market success or acceptance. Most hope to penetrate the bell of the curve. Getting there, however, is easier said than done. When you ask small businesses about their goals, many of them will tell you they want to be $1 billion business in X number of years. The odds of that happening, unfortunately, don't look good. Of the 27 million businesses registered in the United States, fewer than 2,000 ever reach $1 billion in annual revenues, and 99.9% of all businesses in America have fewer than 500 employees. In other words, mass market success is really hard to achieve. Big companies have similar challenges repeating their market success. Just because they've done it once or twice doesn't mean they know how to do it every time. The Zune, Microsoft's entry into the multi gigabyte MP3 player market, for example, was pegged to take on the iPod. It didn't happen, even if the quality is superior. There is more to succeeding than just the product and the marketing. Don't forget the superior Betamax technology did not beat out the substandard VHS technology as the standard format for videotape in the 1980s. The best does not always win. Like any natural law, the law of diffusion must be considered if mass market acceptance is important to you. Refusal to do so will cost a lot of money and may result in a mediocre success, if not complete failure.